One of my favorite things in the world to do is watch Friends. I know it's been off for years and years. It's not even around, but I still find myself binge watching old episodes. And I was thinking about this today and thinking, it's the predictability of the friends in the circle, right? You have Chandler with his quirkiness, Monica with her type A of just everything has to be so neat and tidy and organized. It's Phoebe's ability to make you laugh at her silly songs. Ross always comes in with those smart comments, and Joey and him and his food, like it is just so hilarious. And of course, Rachel, she just brings everybody together, and it's just such this beautiful, cohesive team of people. And it's why I wanted to come on and share with you today that I have an opportunity for you to find your friends in the content creation space. So if you are thinking about creating your first or your next digital course, I don't want you to miss this opportunity because Amy Porterfield just opened the doors for registration for her Course Confident Bootcamp. And I'm actually offering a special bonus for anyone that registers for the Course Confident Bootcamp through my special link. So I want you to go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register. That's krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And what you're going to find when you get there is I have this special bonus private podcast series. It's called Money Mindset for Creators. So I want you to go register for Amy's bootcamp, download the podcast, and immediately start listening to it, because what this training is set up to do is to help you get your mind right about monetizing your content, making money so that you can fuel your content creation dreams. So go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp to register for Course Confident. And I cannot wait for you to find your friends and find the people that will be there for you. Do you see what I did there? Yeah, nice little friends segue connection. Go to krystalprofit.com/Amy-bootcamp. And I cannot wait to see you inside. Okay, let's get into today's episode. I wanted to start the conversation today with I am so incredibly grateful for the super special humans that have come into my life because of my podcasting journey. I've had so many awesome guests on this show that I never would have met had I not gone all in on podcasting back in 2019. And it's funny because I feel like it's been forever on this journey, but it also feels like I'm just getting started. So like there's a whole mixed emotion of what this journey has been like for me. But today's guest is directly related to podcasting because we met through a podcast networking group here in Houston. And I'm forever grateful for this. So I cannot wait for all the things that you are going to learn about podcasting and social media here today. So let's get right to it. Welcome to the Profit Podcast, where we teach entrepreneurs how to start, launch, and market their podcast. I'm your host, Krystal Profit, and I'm so excited that you're here. Thanks for hanging out with me today, because if you've been trying to figure out the world of podcasting, think of this show as the time-saving shortcut you've been looking for. So let's get right to it, shall we? Okay, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet today because there are just so many incredible things that you are going to learn in today's episode. You're basically getting a masterclass in social media strategy, and I don't want to take away from this conversation that I had with the Jay Franco. So Jay is someone who came into my life, like I said in the beginning, from a podcast networking group here in Houston. So shout out Ozil, the founder of Pod Houston, because without him, me and Jay would have never crossed paths and been able to connect the way that we have. But let me tell you a little bit about her before we dive into our conversation. So Jay Franco is a branding and marketing strategist with over 8 years of experience in the industry and a graduate of the #1 communication school in the nation, the University of Southern California. She also has a second master in communication management. This girl knows her stuff, y'all. I'm telling you, you're going to love her passion for everything that she's been doing, but she's been building a rock solid foundation to crafting the right messaging that really gets her clients to convert on social media. She's the Chief Marketing Officer at Franco Innovative, a media and marketing agency in Houston, Texas. She was awarded Houston's Best Marketing Consultant in 2019 and currently nominated for Global Top 100 Influencer Advertising and Marketing in 2021. She loves helping solopreneurs strategically market their business by captivating, cultivating, convincing, and converting their audience so that they can make more money online. Oh, I know your ears perked up. You're like, that sounds like me. I need whatever it is that she is selling. Well, y'all, I'm telling you, like your mind is about to be blown. I had to take notes as soon as this conversation. I was like, wait, hang on. Can you repeat that? Like there were so many amazing things that I learned in this conversation about social media that I cannot wait. So without further ado, here is my conversation with Jay. All right, Profit Podcast listeners, I'm so excited to bring you someone else from Houston. I'm so excited about this. Jay, welcome to the show today.
Hi, thank you for having me. Oh my goodness, I can't believe that we haven't even done this after being friends for so long. And I'm like such a huge fan of you and your podcast all the time. So for your audience, I am Jay Franco and I am a branding and marketing strategist here in Houston, Texas. I own my own agency. It's called Franco Innovative Media and Marketing. And I help business owners to build and market their businesses so that it actually start making their first dollar on day one. Yes.
I love it.
So thank
I
you so
love
much.
it. Yes. No, I love this so much because I think that what you do is so important, but also I think that it's one of those things that people kind of put off as an afterthought. They're like, I'm going to do all the things and then I'll think about the strategy. So I really wanted you to come on the show today to give us a little bit of your wisdom with the things that you've learned in your own business and how you're just like, oh my gosh, I wish I would have thought about this one particular strategy when I first started. But before we get there, I want to ask you, how did you get into this? I mean, like, I know that it wasn't your dream as a little girl to be an online marketing social media strategist because it wasn't around. So tell us a little bit
No.
about your journey.
Oh, it's a really great story, Krystal, and I'm so glad you asked that question because it's really like a wonderful story. Like I love telling that story. So just to give you a quick recap, I was a personal trainer that became a meal prepper and had my own like meal prep thing. And then because I was a personal trainer and involved in fitness, I was always backstage at like bodybuilding shows. And of course, I'm such a girly girl. Like I love makeup, I love all that stuff. So the girls would come off stage and they were like a hot, runny, sweaty mess. And so I'm like, oh, give me your stuff. Let me help you. Let me touch you up. So I went from being in fitness as a personal trainer to being in fitness as a makeup artist, traveling all over the world and losing my meal prep business at one point to just go full-time makeup artist. So then that I fell out of that transition a little bit, like towards the end of that period. And I was asked to join this startup called Blue Zone Gourmet to redo the whole meal prepping. And so in that process, we had to hire a marketing firm. And oh my goodness, it was like the best thing because I got to work with Stan and Lou, and I got to work with Michelle of Blue Sky Marketing. And at that time, Michelle was with Stan and Lou, and it was amazing because I remember Lou Congilio, he put out all the branding elements. He put all the logos. And I remember just looking at this big table and being with the people that I was running the business with. And I'm like, okay, I want that swoosh with that lettering, with that color, with this. And then all of a sudden, like just watching Michelle, like she was such a badass. And I was like, oh, I want to be like her when I grow up. And and sure enough, like she inspired me so much that I went back to school because I had kind of like dropped out of my bachelor's program. I went back to school and I re-enrolled and I switched my major finally. Like this was the third time I had switched my major, and I said, "This is what I want to do for the rest of my life." And then obviously that was around the time that social media was like booming and it was just starting to grow. And I finished my bachelor's. And then I was like, yes, I'm going to go conquer the world. I'm going to get a job in marketing, and I'm going to do this and this and that in social media. And no one would hire me because I had no experience. I had a lot of sales experience because I have a strong background in sales, but I had no actual like real world marketing. So in the process, I started, just building myself and my portfolio, taking freelance clients. And then I said, well, who wouldn't hire someone with a master's? So I decided to go on this whole master's journey. And then next thing you know, I finished the master's program with a concentration in marketing. So I went 3 years for a master's. And I got so excited about it that I ended up at USC, University of Southern California. So I'm a Trojan, fight on. And I did a second master's, a master in communication management. And it was there that I really got like the real world stuff that helped kind of set me up to build an agency model for myself and finally have like, okay, I don't need to go work for somebody. Like I have an agency now. And I think that was God's purpose all along. Like you're not supposed to go work for someone. You're supposed to build something yourself.
I
Yeah.
love that so much. Oh my gosh. Well, and just having that mentality of what you just said, like, it's like, this was my purpose. Like, everything, like all the dots were connected in looking back. And I
Mhm.
know that that's so frustrating for some people to hear as like, oh, we have to go through, these zigs and zags in our journey. But I mean, it's so true. Most people can look back and say, oh, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing today only because I did A, B, and C before in my past. So I love that you can connect the dots. And I think that, everything that you have done, I'm sure has just really set you up to work with other people, work with different types of people. I mean, like, so can you
Yeah.
talk to that a little bit about like the people that you typically work with your strategy sessions and what you do? Are they brand new to online business? Are they brick and mortars? And they're like, so tell me a little bit about that.
Most of them are all new to online. I have two brick and mortar, and ironically, when I stopped being a makeup artist, and I told everyone in the makeup in the fitness bodybuilding industry, I'm like, hey, I am going back to school. I'm no longer doing this, and they supported me and they transitioned me. I'm telling you, like I said, I'm not a makeup artist. I don't want to be associated with that. I don't want to be associated with fitness. I don't want to be associated with any of that. The irony is that my clients are all in like they're fitpreneurs, they're beautypreneurs because of my experience in the industry. That's what made it just easier for me to help them develop strategies because I was already in the trenches. Like I've been in the trenches and I know what they're going through and I knew how to understand them and I knew how to develop strategies now from like the marketing strategist perspective where I was in that trench. And I wish someone would have had done that for me and told me like, this is how you market. This is how you do social. This is how you develop your strategies. This is how you tie your strategy to your business goals. Like I wish someone had kind of showed me that. And it just became so easy for me to, have clients that have an athleisure wear company, clients that are, my goodness, they're starting their own beauty brand. Another one has a hair brand. Another one has a lash academy and lash products for technicians so they can be lash artists. I have a couple of makeup artists that are transitioning into being more of creating their own products. So, I mean, it's so amazing. Like here I am running away from this background thinking that's not good enough for me anymore. I don't want to be associated with it. And it ends up being like my ecosystem of like, that's my genius zone. That's where I thrive. Those are the clients that bring me the most joy. Yeah. I mean, I've done other clients and I just don't touch certain industries like food. I love food, but I just try to stay really tight on my niche and tight in my zone of genius so that I can really get creative in the strategies and I can observe trends in the marketing environment and say, oh, I can do this for them. If we tweak this or if we turn this or if we pivot this way, I know that they're going to see growth or I know they're going to start seeing traction. So those are the type of clients that I work with. And I'm just excited about that because it's so funny. Like I used to run from it and now I'm like, I want more of those.
I love this. No, I think it's so great because, you understand your clients. Like that's really what it all comes down to. And, I went to school, I have my marketing degree too. And it's like, you go back to that marketing 101 and that's really what it all comes down to. And I feel like that kind of got lost for me for a while. It was just like, no, it's all about sales and it's all about strategy and all these things. And it's like, no. Go back to the very first day, like 101. And it's you have to understand your customer. And I think it's really smart on your part. And for anybody that's listening, they're like, well, because I have so many podcasters that come to me and say, I want to talk to all women or I want to talk to all moms. And it's like, hang on, because you're missing an opportunity to narrow your focus and really get super smart, super strategic on what you can do with your podcast and what you can do with your business. So I think that this is so smart for you. And I think that I don't know. I'm just excited to watch you to continue to grow and help all these other people. But I want to switch gears for a second because I normally do rapid fire questions later in the interview, but I thought this would be so fun for our listeners to understand a little bit more about how you feel about social strategy and social media and how you just approach things. So are you up for some rapid fire questions?
Let's do this. So nervous now.
Okay. So Instagram or Facebook?
Instagram.
LinkedIn or Twitter?
LinkedIn.
Clubhouse or podcast?
Oh, Clubhouse. Sorry, podcaster. Sorry. Because you can record and like repurpose that. So sorry.
Well, it's funny because that was a trick question anyway. So, okay. Because podcasts really aren't social media. Okay. So my last one is YouTube or IGTV?
YouTube all the way. It's search, man. Yes.
Okay. All right. So I wanted to ask these questions just to kind of give everybody an idea of where Jay is coming from a social media perspective, because if I were to be asked these questions, my answers may be a little bit different and your answers may be slightly different too, because we all have our favorite platforms. And that's the reason why there's so many social media platforms. So I wanted to just let's get it all out on the table before we get into strategy, because I want listeners to walk away from this episode today and just know that like, these are the things that I need to work on, or these are the action items I need to take. We try to do everything that will help you walk away from our episodes and take action. So now that we know, like, it's like, okay, this pressure's off. Okay. You can take a deep breath. We don't have any more we'll have some more later. Okay. Don't get too comfortable, but
okay. I'm all leaning back in my chair.
I know you're like, hang on, let me put my feet up on the desk. Now we're super comfortable, but I want to just kind of dive into social media as kind of what people are doing right, but more so what people are doing wrong. So I have a few pet peeves of my own, but I want to hear yours. Like, what's the number one thing that whenever you see someone, you start following them or they kind of come into your sphere and you're like, oh my gosh, I wish that they would stop doing that. What is that one thing for you?
I have a couple of them.
Being a woman in business comes with its own unique set of challenges, but also so many opportunities. We get ahead by leaning in to what makes us different from business as usual. I'm Samantha Hartley, host of Profitable Joyful Consulting, inviting you to a special 6-episode series exploring the experience of being a woman in business. You want to hear from women consultants who've hit $1 million, who sell 6-figure engagements, or who've broken their own revenue ceilings? Yeah, those are my clients, and they'll be sharing too. Join me for 6 must-listen episodes that tackle key challenges for women consultants.
Follow Profitable Joyful Consulting on your favorite podcast app.
Let's hear them.
So from a strategy perspective, the number one thing that I cringe about is always when it comes to repurposing content that you're not mindful of the platforms. You put the same graphic, the same caption, the same everything, and you just throw it out in every single platform that you own. And so you've got to kind of understand that on each platform, your audience is on there for different reasons. And so like for Twitter, for example, turn your content into something that's more newsworthy, or that you're speaking from an authority level or something new and innovative. On Facebook, people go there for like community building, all that stuff, right? So make it more approachable. On Instagram, don't use your Instagram image on Facebook, on Twitter, because all of those are different sizes. So that's one. 2, when you post from Instagram, your caption, the way you structure your caption visually, and then you add your hashtags, when it gets sent to Facebook, that's not native to Facebook. So Facebook is maybe like a one-liner or even like a long story, hashtags, maybe one hashtag. And, I always tell, my clients, especially my coaching clients, that if they're going to use a hashtag on Facebook, put it right in the beginning. And the reason why is because when we're on our phones, on mobile Facebook, the hashtag is highlighted and it's a different color. It's like, I think it's either blue or like super highlighter, right? And so that's visually more appealing as you're scrolling through the feed. So it makes you stop. You immediately see this bolded hashtag and you're like, oh, what is this? And so it prompts the audience to kind of want to read more on mobile. And so that's really important. And then don't clutter your Facebook with hashtags, because it's just not native to the platform. Like that's just not the culture of that platform, where it's the culture of Instagram. And then same thing with LinkedIn. Like I see a lot of people posting content that's not relevant on LinkedIn. So they're putting their selling posts on LinkedIn, like they're selling their products, instead of positioning themselves as authority leaders on LinkedIn and then pitching, soft pitching, because the level of audience is business audience. It's a higher level. You have people in various education levels there, and they're there for networking and for lots of value in education. So that's one of my biggest pet peeves, is seeing like the same post across all social media. So what makes me want to follow you on Instagram if I'm already following you on Facebook and I see the same stuff on all across all social? So I don't want to follow you everywhere else. Why? Because you're not giving me more. You're not enticing me to follow you everywhere, because you have different content everywhere. And I know that sometimes it sounds like, oh, Jay, I have to like do different content for everything. It's just tweaking your content and repurposing it in a way that is more native to each platform. Like just be mindful of each platform's culture. And I think that people would actually start getting better engagement. I know people say that like Facebook is dead, and so are the groups, and so are your pages. But if you started being a little bit more mindful of the culture, I think that, you'll get a little traction there. Where you were getting now, you're going to get something now. It is still hard on Facebook now. And we had few changes last week, and even more so now with like the pixels being on certain things and privacy policies and all these changes that are going on Facebook. But you're still going to get better reach if you just tailor your content to the culture of every single platform.
That's so good.
Yeah. And the other pet peeve is follow trains. oh my goodness, I can't stand follow trains. I go crazy on follow trains where you're in groups and someone posts, I'm a business owner. Let's support each other and let's help each other grow. So the problem with that, Krystal, and I'm pretty sure you've already heard me rant about this before on my socials, is that you invite all of these people to follow you and you're following all of these new people. None of them are your target audience. So then when you post content and you're complaining that the Instagram algorithm isn't working for you, it's because the people that you told, like you're doing a follow for follow switch, they're not interested in what you have to sell. And what it's telling the algorithm is that your content is not important, that your content is not like worthy of me, the algorithm, exposing your stuff to other people. And what you're telling the algorithm is that, quite frankly, your audience doesn't care. So what it's going to do, it's going to limit the amount of reach, impressions, views that, you get. And you're going to think, oh man, I'm doing everything and my content's not going. Well, it's probably because you have a lot of followers that are not your target audience. If you got into the habit of not worrying about those vanity metrics and worrying about getting that next follower be your right follower or within your target pool, like that target audience, then your reach is going to be amplified among that pool. So that's like my biggest thing. It's like, dude, you're killing your own engagement. You're literally telling the algorithm to like suppress your stuff. So that's that one. Oh man, I go crazy on that one. I'm like, stop doing that.
Quit. Well, I was cracking up because y'all should see Jay on video. Like she just got so fired up, like explaining all that just because it's like, oh my gosh, like I can see it in her face. Like I just like, she's got fists. Like this drives me nuts. But I totally see, I mean, we see this all the time. And I don't know if it's just people that don't know any better, if they're just getting into the online space, but anybody listening to this podcast, you know better now. And we better not see you doing this because I honestly hadn't thought about it really messing with like your engagement because all of a sudden you got all these followers and Instagram or whichever platform is like, oh, these people came to the party, but they're not eating any of the food, right? It's like,
remember, like
these people. Oh.
The algorithm is so smart. So if you have a pool of like audience, the algorithm will purposely go find and show your stuff to like audience. So if you're purposeful with who you're attracting and who is your follower and who you're following, then the algorithm will pick that up and start like based on a user's interest, they'll show like the algorithm will show your content to that person because it has similar interests and behaviors to the people that you're currently serving. So the people that are following you are constantly engaging with your stuff. If they're commenting, if they're liking, if they're saving it, if they're sharing it, the algorithm's like, I've got to show it to more of those people. And that's how you start growing organically. And you will grow, but you've got to focus on like building, your little tribe and on defining who your ideal client avatar is, your buyer persona, and what the pool of your target audience looks like so that you're able to really start growing organically. And once the algorithm catches you doing it a couple of times and it starts like really feeding the monster, you'll notice you'll start picking up faster. Your reels will hit, your IGTVs will go viral, like it'll start actually working in your favor. So the algorithm, the whole shadow banning thing, it's real in the point that you create your own shadow ban with your behavior. But the algorithm doesn't purposely shadow ban your stuff. Crazy,
that's so
right?
helpful. Oh my gosh, that's so helpful. And I had never heard the term shadow banning. So tell me more specifically what that is.
So shadow banning is a concept that started getting popular like around between 2015 2018. Everybody's like, oh, the algorithm's shadow banning me. And what it does is saying that when you post content, it doesn't reach people. But now, like those of us that are real like strategists and like really understand marketing, just because you do marketing or you're really good at marketing doesn't mean that you're really a marketer. There's a lot of people that say, oh, I can run your socials, but they don't understand, and they're not like constantly trying to keep up with like the changes in the algorithm. So when the algorithm changed a lot, people started saying, oh, I'm shadow banning. So what happened is like they were running giveaways, they were running contests, they were doing loops, they were doing follow trains, they were doing also loops on other platforms on WhatsApp and stuff like that, and getting people to start all commenting. So the algorithm got changed, and it started picking up more of that behavior. So it could like basically say, okay, they're trying to like outsmart the algorithm. So it started shutting like down your reach on your images. But the people were doing it themselves. Like now that we go back and we study the algorithm changes and things that happen on Instagram and Facebook and all that stuff, now we're able to see it's because of your own behavior that you cause the algorithm to say, I'm not going to show your stuff to people anymore, because these people are like the same people that keep commenting every day. So you're trying to trick the system, making it look that you have 30 comments of 30 people engaging, just so that it could get released to the For You page, or like, the Discover page. And you're purposely trying to like trick the system to, get you there. And so now it's gotten so smart that it picks up everything.
That's like, you're
Yeah.
blowing my mind right now, because I just, what you said, like it's like a history lesson of algorithms. And I just like jump forward to like my kids, like, getting taught in school, like this is what happened, when the algorithm changed and all the things.
Yeah.
But it's so good to have strategists just like you who really understand this stuff, because I'm
Yeah.
sure there's people listening like, the algorithm changes, but
Yeah.
that's what you do. Like, you pay attention to that stuff. You make sure that people aren't making the same mistakes that you've seen other people, like your clients, people that you've watched on the sidelines, that you're just like, oh, they did this and it worked really well. Oh, they did this. Don't do that ever again, because it was really bad.
Yeah.
But I want to go back to one thing that I see too with the follow trains. And this may just be me. I think that it's probably a universal human feeling. But when you see the follow train, and trust me, I've participated them when I just didn't know any better. Okay. So I'm going to call myself out on it. And there is some shame that is related whenever you put your Instagram or you put your whatever platform out there, and then someone's like, oh, I followed you, go follow me back. And then I just like immediately am like, I'm not interested in your stuff. But it's just like this weird, like, I don't want to go follow you, but then someone's telling you I did follow you. So there's this like emotional, like human shamefulness to it too. So it's just another reason that we just stop it with the follow trains.
And you explained it so well. Like that's my thing with follow trains, that you go to somebody else's, you're like, ooh, like I'm not interested in your stuff. And that's just a great example to show you from your own personal, experience, that these follow trains were not either the right people to follow you, or you were the right audience for them. And so you're basically like messing up their potential to grow. And especially they're like, follow me back. And I hate that. Like, I feel like, um, when people follow me organically and they say, hey, I followed you, can you follow me back? I'm like, no, I'm sorry. I don't follow back.
Right.
Like, I'm straight up, like, I'm very ruthless when it comes to that. I'm like, nope, I don't follow back. I don't.
I love it so much. I just pictured the celebrities that are like, no, I don't take selfies. Like, I don't take pictures with you. And like, you just kind of drew the line in the sand, like, nope, I don't follow back. I love
That's
it.
me. That's my problem on Clubhouse right now. I'm having this little problem on Clubhouse because in order for people to moderate rooms and have a room open in my club, I need to follow them. They need to follow me. They need to add me as a host, and I can unlock their room, and then I can choose to like not host it or not, or they can, but I'm like, I don't want to. I don't want to follow all of these people that just because they want to unlock the room. So I started getting like putting my foot down. I'm like, no, I'm sorry. We have a club of 3,000 people. We're going to remain to be private. Like, you're getting a lot of attention when you start a room in our club. Like, there's no need for you to actually open it up to the hallway so that
Right.
random people can come in. Like you've got a good solid club where people show up, like 50, like 30 to maybe 50, 60 people show up immediately. And then depending on like how incredible you are as a speaker, the topic, I ended up with like 200 and some people in one of my rooms that I hosted myself in one of my clubs. And that's the thing, like you can get the attention. You just need to be strategic with, how you show up and all of those things that you need to do, and make sure that when you walk in the room, you already start, you have a script, you have like ABC, you know how to refresh the room, all of those like cool things, right? So yeah.
This is so good. No, you're blowing everybody's mind right now. Like with all these, cause like these are like back end things, like, cause I've been curious about that. Cause I don't have a club on there. I think that I applied for one at some point and I just never heard back. So I'm like, is that just
What?
dead? Like, do I need to follow back up on that? So I need to check on that with Clubhouse, but
I will send you an invite.
right. Like it's just one of those things. Like I'm really interested, and I'm kind of a watcher and seer. I'm usually not like first on board to try something out. I've been on Clubhouse for a while, but I'm just trying to understand the role that it plays in my entire marketing strategy. And to circle back around to what you do and how you help people strategically with like, let's lay it all out on the table. What is your goal? There's a lot of podcasters listening right now that they're like, oh my gosh, like I'm overwhelmed. You're talking about Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, like all the things. So what would you say to someone that's like, I am just getting started? Which platform I like help me out, Jay. I don't know what to do. What advice would you give to them?
Man, it's the same thing I tell everybody all the time. Make sure that you are strategic. Make sure that you know what your business goals are. Like if you're starting a podcast, okay, what is it for? Are you trying to create influence? Are you trying to position yourself as an authority leader? Are you trying to generate income? What is it that you're doing? Okay, define that 1, 2, or 3, right? Are you educating? Are you entertaining? Or are you, creating some kind of emotion in the audience, right? We all fall into one of those. And then after that, say, okay, so if you're gonna, let's pick generate money, generate income. Okay, so create your business, all that stuff. Whether it's social media, whether it's podcasting, whether it's getting on Clubhouse, your intention is the same thing. It's the same strategy over and over again. What is my strategy to get on Clubhouse? I want to be seen as an authority figure in my market. And I also want to lead gen. Okay, so when I go in there, I make sure that my rooms are specific to the topics that will help kind of funnel people to my lead magnet, to go to my workshop, to eventually, purchase a VIP day, right? Or my high ticket value offer. So you've got to map out, and both of us are like really strong in sales. So you've got to map out your buyer journey, even if they're not buying anything, like you're not selling like something, you've got to map out the journey. How do I get people from here to here? Like, this is my goal. My goal is to have these many downloads in my podcast. My goal is to have these many subscribers in my podcast. How do I get the people on Clubhouse to get to that end, where I want them to go? So I've got to map out the journey. I've got to get on there and be strategic about like creating like mini podcasts or creating that, hey, we're talking about this, we're going to record and use that to repurpose it. And then even to the point where you get in a room and you talk about certain topics that you are talking about in your podcast. Let's say in your podcast, you talk about women's rights and equality and all that stuff, right? So in order for them, you mine for speakers in that field, in that niche, and then you also use that to kind of prime and get the conversation going. Don't do 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour rooms. Do like 15, 30-minute rooms where the audience gets hyped up and they're like, oh, I want to like talk more. I want to learn more about this stuff. And then you just like funnel them through your buyer journey, through like those phases, whether it's the lead magnet or whether you're like, hey, follow me on if you want to learn more, like I have 5 tips. I gave you 2. If you want to hear the last 3, go to my podcast. I just like the last episode talks about all 5 of those things. So kind of like that, like enticing them to go somewhere else. You've got to give a little bit to hook them and then reel them in. And so you've got to be strategic doesn't matter whether it's Clubhouse, your podcast, it doesn't matter where you go, YouTube. It's the same strategy over and over and over and over again, just applied to the culture of the platform that you're going to use. That's it.
I love this. Oh my gosh, y'all, I hope you understand like these nuggets that Jay is like, because these are the things that I wish I would have understood when I first got started. Like now I've been doing this for a while and this seems like, yes, this is no-brainer information because I've been doing this, but I was not thinking about strategy. I was just like, I'm going to put this out there and I hope somebody likes it. I mean, and I think that that's where so many people start. So I wanted to have Jay on the podcast today to share these higher level strategies because it's what you need to be thinking of when you're starting your journey. Or if you've already started and you're like, oh, I haven't even thought about any of this. It's not too late. Like, let's start like Jay said. So this is my question because I'm such a behind the scenes, like I want to know tactical things. If someone were to lay out their customer journey, what does it look like for someone to work with me in my business? What's your favorite tool to do that? Like, is there a specific program? Do you like a Google Doc? Do you like a notebook? Like, what do you like to do that on? Yes. Pen and paper.
Pen and paper. And honestly, preferably a pencil because I like chicken scratch. I erase and once I have to kind of like map it out somewhat, like that paper looks so bad, and then I can create the stickies, and then I put the stickies and I move things around and map it out for the client. Once that is like, okay, this is how it's going to work, and then I take them through that journey, and then we create it like just on a regular program, whether it's Canva, Google Docs, anything, where we just go through the steps and we outline the system for their funnel, for their sales funnel. And yeah, I mean, honestly, the best thing is just chicken scratch on a piece of paper. Like that's my favorite. I feel like I'm more creative when I'm writing, especially with pencil. I'm an artist by nature. Like I grew up wanting to be an artist. Like I didn't never thought I'd grow up to be a marketer. But yeah, I wanted to be an artist and a painter and all that stuff. So for me, I think specifically for me, other people love like Asana and all these cool things. I am a techie girl and I will geek out on tech and apps and all that stuff. There's just something cathartic about like just the movement of your handwriting and just a pencil.
Well, I just you're a girl after my own heart. I have my paper planner, like right here. I'm showing Jay. I got my notebooks. I got all my things. And the reason why I asked that is because, and I had a feeling, I was like, I bet she's going to say pen and paper or Post-its. That's really what I was thinking, because I think that people think that strategy has to be really complicated and it has to be this big, like, oh, I went and spent hundreds of dollars every month on this super big project management system. And it has to be like all complex. No, it doesn't. It does not. You can get fancy later. You can do all the fancy things and all that, these different systems that talk to one another, but start simple because it's less overwhelming that way. And like Jay said, I actually love that where you scratch it out in a notebook and then put it on stickies and then move it into a Google Doc or something fancier. Like I love this so much.
Yeah.
But the question that I have that I see most often in our community about social media is, do I need to have a separate account between my brand and my podcast? So what are your thoughts on that?
So I have been recently working with like high level coaches and I'm going to give you 2 different strategies. And I'm going to give you 2 different examples. And I think that that's going to help the audience relate really well. When I pivoted and I got, fresh out of college after 3 degrees, people know Jay. You know me. You knew who I was. Like, oh yeah, that's Jay. Jay, she does, marketing. Yes. And everybody knows Jay, the marketer. And no matter what social circle we were around, you and I, everybody's like, oh yeah, Jay, and it's so easy for them to like in their head, if I say the word marketing, what's the first thing that's going to come out of your mouth? Jay, right? And it's that association and that memory recall. So if I position myself as Franco Innovative, I remember when we started the agency, we did a case study, I think after year 2, because we were trying to figure out why the business was not generating leads. And it was because the brand was not strong enough visibly. So if I went up to you and you didn't know that this was my company, and if I told you, Krystal, oh, you should really work with Franco Innovative Media Marketing, you'd be like, I don't know who they are. But if someone recommended me, you'd be like, oh, of course. So people, obviously, you've heard this like adage all the time that people do business with those that they know, like, and trust. So they didn't know, like, or trust Franco Innovative. But man, they were crazy in love about Jay Franco. So I became the face of the brand, and I started to really pivot and develop my personal brand. When you are like a podcaster, when you're developing courses, when you're in that zone, like for me, like I develop a lot of courses and I have VIP days and all that stuff. So, Jay Franco, marketing strategist is cool. But how cool and sexy does the profitable social boss sound? See that difference? Like it sounds sexy, the profitable social boss. Yes, I want to be a profitable social boss. Yes, I want to make money. Yes, make it rain. I want to use social and be profitable finally from it. So it just gets really sexy. And so when you're developing your podcast, think of something super catchy, sexy that that an audience is going to immediately connect with. Obviously, as podcasters, as course creators, as coaches, life coaches, all of that stuff. If you hear the profitable social boss, if you're an online creator, if that's the space that you live in, you're going to naturally be like, yeah, that's like, I want to go into that, right? You want to find out who that is, what that is. So the Profitable Social Boss by Jay Franco sounds so much sexier than Jay Franco selling a marketing course.
Right.
Like it's so much sexier. So two different perspectives. Like when it was like my agency model, yeah, I had to position myself because, we were working on referrals. Now that things are going completely online and that I'm building this online, school and all the courses and positioning myself even further as like that authority in marketing and advertising, we had to come up with something sexy. And my coaches were like, you've got to come up with something sexy for like a cool ringing name, so that people start identifying you and identifying themselves in that sexy name.
Right.
So good, right?
That's so good. That's so good. I'm like, ooh, profitable social boss. Like,
yes.
I mean, but like you said, it's like someone that's like, oh, well, I am part of the profitable social boss, like
Yes.
this is my group of people. These are my people. And this is who I identify with. And I think that, oh my gosh, like I could just nerd out on all the marketing things with you. Oh, it's so good because the strategy, like I said, like I love marketing. I love watching marketing. I love how other people do it. I love learning from other people. And I said this before, but I like watching what people do wrong because it makes me cringe a little bit. And I'm like, oh, I wish you would stop doing that. But also it allows us to come on here and educate everybody and just say, look, these are the things that can help you succeed in the long run. I didn't say, Jay, can you tell us how we can get 100,000 downloads in our first month and tell us how we can get 10,000 followers so we can get the swipe up? Because that is not in the long run what matters. What matters is you connecting with your people, your audience, your customers, your like all the people. And this is why I wanted to have you on the podcast because I know that that's what you're about. You're about connecting with other humans.
Yeah.
Like you're about like, how can I help you? And so I so appreciate this.
I'm not about like fast cash, and I'm not about like, oh, I'm going to make $10,000 right now, like, sell this product and get it done. I'm about connecting with that one fan. I don't remember whether it was a book by Pat Flynn. I have him somewhere back here. But it was about your number one fan. Oh, 1 million followers. That one with Brendan Kane, where he talks about like your one follower and the value of that one follower. If they purchase from you once, like you can continue to nurture them. And you should be more focused on that just one person, one follower that you have that is faithful and loyal to you, because you don't want them dropping off, because they'll always purchase from you. They'll always follow you everywhere. They'll listen to all and binge your podcast over and over again. So it's about making connection with one person, not all, like everyone. And so for me, I've always been all about like just one person. I'm here to just connect with one person. I don't care that I have 10,000 followers on my Instagram. I don't. I care about that one person that slides in my DM and that is always talking to me. And I'm very active in my Instagram DMs, and I do a lot of voice. Like I reply with my voice, I reply with video, and you don't see none of that, because it's all behind the scenes. So you don't see those like really valuable connections that I'm creating. You only see like the front, the content that I'm posting, and the follower count and all that stuff. So I'm all about like really connecting with my one person, my audience. Yeah.
That's so good. Oh my gosh. Like I'm just so grateful that you came here today and you shared so much. We are going to move into, I do have 3 more rapid fire questions for you.
Do it.
Okay. Like, so hopefully I've eased you into it. Like you're ready. Like you're a pro.
I'm
at
ready
this
now.
So my question, the first one is, what piece of advice would you give to a brand new podcaster?
Oh man, it's probably the same advice that I give a new business owner, because as a podcaster, this is going to become your business, right? You don't just podcast just because, right? You got to figure out how to like make it into a business, whether it's generating income or not. It's still a business, right? And it's to define your buyer persona. I'm like my mantra is making sure that every business owner, every podcaster, every person that's going to be a content creator, that they really understand who their buyer persona is, that one client. And even to the point where, okay, you look at the target market, and from that target market, identify your audience from there that have the most similar interest to what you're really trying to do or accomplish, your purpose, right? And then from there, from that audience, like you've got to really segment your audience. Once you segment the audience, then pull out, Jane Doe, pull out, Mary, pull out Jay Franco, pull out Krystal Profit, and those become like who you talk to all the time. And remember earlier, I just said you talk to one person, so your messaging is just for Krystal Profit, Jay Franco, Jane Doe. Like that's it. Even though that message will resonate in the segments within your target market. So that's the number one thing. Like, don't just start a podcast to start a podcast. If you feel like you have something of value to offer the world, and you have it in your heart that, man, if I start this podcast, like people are going to want to hear it. Define exactly who those people are, and you'll find them so much faster. You'll grow so much faster when you have a very clear strategy on who that one person that you're talking to in your podcast is.
I feel like I need a mic drop sound effect because it's so good. Like you just made me think like, oh, yeah, we need some kind of like clapping or something like, oh my gosh, this is so good. This is gold. Oh, it's so good. And remember, you can do it on a notebook and piece of paper.
Yes, exactly. Nothing fancy. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question is, what is the dream podcast that you would love to be on? And who would be your dream podcast guest? If you could interview anybody, who would that be?
Oh man, this is so funny. And I'm going to sound so cheesy.
We love cheesy. Give it to us.
Okay, so my dream podcast guest is Krystal from the future, because I've always said he's like my baby daddy. Like he doesn't know that he's my baby daddy. And I think one time, like I tagged him on Instagram, and I bought his cap, and I bought some of his courses, and I bought like some of his stuff and some agency templates that he sells for like creatives. Because, obviously I run a marketing agency. We do graphic work. So I was like, yes. And I love Krystal. And I just think he's so hot and sexy. He's like the most hot, sexy Asian man in my life. I'm like, oh. So it would have to be Krystal one, and also because he's such a thought leader. Like he is, man, he is like Seth Godin, like he's like, Joe Rogan, like he's like there, he's there. So for me, so yeah, I put on the future cap and I tagged him in the post, and I'm like, yeah, he doesn't know he's my baby daddy, but he is. And he replied, and I was like,
You're like, oh my gosh, what do I do now?
girl, I was melting, I was like, yes, baby daddy, yes.
That's so good.
And as far as like what podcast I'd like to be on, I mean, I think like for me, like I love a lot of podcasts. I binge podcasts like there's no tomorrow. There's one that I'm I think it's, oh my goodness, Buffer. Buffer. I forgot the name of their podcast, but Buffer has a really good one that I'm like, oh, I'd love to be on that podcast. Like, the way I am with you, and share strategy. I'd love to be on Michael Seltzner's marketing podcast. And then as far as like personally, man, I'd love to be like on some of those podcasts where like some of my favorite faith leaders are, like my pastor Joel Osteen, or what is her name? I'm trying to figure out her name. Oh my goodness, I can't remember. But those like those would be it. Yeah.
This would be fun. Oh, these are so good. So good. Okay. My last question is, do you consider yourself a perfectionist?
Oh man, yes. It's part of my like alpha dominant, ENTP, like high alpha female, like, and I have to learn to let things go, especially with my team. Um, Luckily, I've had a lot of experience managing teams, and I like to give them autonomy to do their thing. Like, don't bother me. Like, you're an adult. I don't micromanage people. I influence and inspire you to like do your best. And so that's like kind of like my style now. So that's cool because I don't have to worry about being perfect all the time. When it comes to my clients, yes. Like sometimes they send me some of their stuff that they do on like graphic work or like their captions, and I'm like, "Ugh, let me fix that for you. Oh, let me, tweak that caption. Oh, girl, your hashtag. Let me fix that." When it comes to like things like that, yes, I'm a perfectionist because I feel like they just need that help to be more impactful. When it comes to my daily stuff, I think getting things done is better than perfect. We've heard that quite a bit going around in the crowds now, Um, and I started really allowing myself to breathe and say, okay, I just need to get it done. And the reason why is because as a content creator, I was suffering from paralysis by analysis, you know, trying to perfect every lead magnet, trying to perfect every video, trying to perfect every YouTube time I went on YouTube, like even my videos. And at one point I'm like, man, I'm just gonna let it rip. Let's do this. And so
Yeah.
now I have that attitude like, yeah, let's do it. Let's just get it done. Because we need to put it out in the world. We need, people are dying like to hear something like us. And so or meet us or, find us. So I think at this point, it's about like creating the content based on my strategy. I don't care if it's like bootlegged and I forgot to clean my iPhone, for my selfies and, go live. That happens quite a bit. Sometimes you're like, oh, I should have cleaned that before I went live. But yeah, it just depends on what you're talking about perfection is, But I think I've kind of embraced the fact that I just I just gotta be me, and I just gotta let people see me raw. And I think the trend in marketing is for you to be a little bit more raw. Everybody talks about, oh, be authentic. And then nobody
Right.
tells you how to be authentic. Girl, just straight up be raw. Like that is
Yeah.
one of the reasons why Rachel Hollis is so big, because she's straight up raw,
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, I've been following you for a while, and just to see the way that you show up, I've watched so many of your YouTube videos. By the way, we're going to have links to all of the places that you can like find Jay and connect with her. But I have to say that like whenever you do show up and you're just like, again, I love that you just said, people are saying, be authentic. And most people are like, but what does that mean? And for you, raw. Oh my gosh. Like that is absolutely the word, because when you do that, when you show up and you are just you, I'm like, I could hang out with her. We could go grab a cup of coffee together and we would have a fantastic chat. So keep doing you, keep doing all the things. Thank you so much for being here today. So where is your favorite place to hang out online? If somebody's listening, they're like, I've got to get connected with Jay, where would you send them?
Oh man, slide into my Instagram DMs all day, every day. But I mean, you will definitely, like, I always feel like I'm about to bust out in that 50 Cent song. You can find me in the club. I like legit live on Clubhouse now, whether I'm listening or I'm actually hosting rooms, but I am most active in my DMs. If you DM me and you end up in like that other folder, I go through all of those and you'll end up in my primary folder, because I literally talk to everyone that DMs me. So if you want to get connected with me, DM me, slide in my DMs, man. That's like the fastest, easiest way for you to get a hold of me on Instagram.
Yes. Oh, well, here's what everybody needs to do. And I don't often give you an assignment when you listen, but I want y'all like go connect with Jay. Say, this was my number one takeaway. Tell us your number one takeaway that you had listening, and say, I heard you on the Profit Podcast. This was so incredible, and tell us. But Jay, thank you so much for coming on the show today. This was so much fun, and I cannot wait. Like, you are right down the road from me. Like, we are in Houston. We have to get connected together very soon. But thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I loved it. I obviously love you, listen to the podcast myself. So I am a sub. I am a listener. So thank you so much. It's been such an honor to be on your podcast. Like, that's so cool.
Yes, and we'll connect soon. Seriously, I could have kept talking to Jay for another 2 hours because I had so many questions that I knew that you have that I wanted to ask. I want to just keep saying, oh my gosh, like, what about this? What about that? Like, tell me all the things. But I wanted to be very aware of her time because I know she's a busy woman. She is out there kicking ass and taking names, and I know that she is making things happen. So if you enjoyed this conversation today, here's what I want you to do. I want you to pull out your phone. I want you to take a screenshot on whatever platform you're listening to this episode and tag me and Jay in it. Like, tag us in your Instagram stories and say, oh my gosh, this was my number one takeaway. This blew my mind. I had no idea that this is how it worked. Whatever you got from this episode today, I want you to tag us and tell us about it, because we want to help you up level on social media. We want to help you get more strategic with how you're talking about your podcast so you can convert more of those listeners into paying clients. Oh my gosh, it was so good. I'm already planning on how we can bring Jay back onto the show because it was just so phenomenal. So I want you to connect with Jay. So go to the show notes, krystalprofit.com/episode 238. Make sure that you connect with her. Like I said, follow her on Instagram. Go check out all the incredible things that she's doing. Oh my gosh, she's so much fun to watch online. Her personality just explodes whenever you see her. Catch her live trainings. We'll go follow her on Clubhouse, like all the places, and learn from her. I want you to get connected with her if she is someone that you want to learn from, because she is always dishing out the good stuff, let me tell you. So again, go to krystalprofit.com/episode 238 to connect with Jay. Make sure you tag us on social media. Let us know what your number one takeaway was from this episode. But that's all I have for you today. So if this is your first time listening, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That way you are notified every time we put out a brand new episode every single week. I would love for you to leave us a rating and review too. Tell us what you thought about this episode today. Go to wherever you're listening to this show, scroll down, click that 5 stars if you're loving what you're hearing. Write one takeaway that you've gotten from listening to this podcast. But that's all I have for you today. So remember, Keep it up. We all have to start somewhere. Hey, Profit Podcast listeners. Thanks for sticking around to a little bit after the episode to hear this special message because I want to hear from you. We are starting a new segment called Fan Mail Shoutouts, and I want to hear from you and I want to hear your questions. What do you want to know? What questions have you been dying to ask me? So here's how to make this happen. Go to the app where you're listening to this podcast right now. Go there. I'll wait a second. Okay. Now, once you're there, you're going to see a hyperlink at the top of the episode description that says, send Krystal a text message. And that's all I want you to do. Send me a text. It could be casual, informal. It could be totally anonymous. Or if you want, you can include your name and the name of your podcast or content wherever you are creating, and I will give you a special shout out in an upcoming episode. So again, go to the show notes for where you're listening to this episode right now, and it will say, send Krystal a text message. And I cannot wait to hear from you and give you a shout out in an upcoming segment of Fan Mail Shoutouts.